So, very good evening, everyone. I am Dr. Satyabrata, MDDM clinical pharmacologist, and today I am going to discuss on good clinical practice. So, today's session learning objectives are to understand the definition of GCP, good clinical practice, to know the evolution of GCP, good clinical practice, to explain the principles of GCP, good clinical practice, and few case studies. What is GCP? GCP, that is good clinical practice, but actually that is good clinical research practice. Then coming to definition of GCP, good clinical practice. The definition is it is a standard for the design, conduct, performance, monitoring, auditing, recording, analysis, and reporting of clinical trials that provides assurance that the data and reported results are credible and accurate, and that the rights, integrity, and confidentiality of trial subjects are protected. That is given in ICH E6, International Council of Harmonization E6 guideline 1.24 in 1997. So, coming to GCP definition by WHO in 1995, it is a standard for clinical studies which encompasses the design, conduct, monitoring, termination, audit, analysis, reporting, and documentation of the studies, and which ensures that the studies are scientifically and ethically sound, and that the clinical properties of the pharmaceutical product, diagnostic, therapeutic, or prophylactic under investigation are properly documented. Then coming to the histories, the atrocities, the Nazi war crimes, Tuskegee syphilis trial, thalidomide disaster, huge chronic disease trial, the Willowbrook study, the milligram study. These are some history on good clinical practice violation. Hospital accused on cancer study leave cells given to patients without their consent, and director tells court allegation is denied, chronic disease institution defends action, value of test is praised, sins of omission, cancer research without informed consent. That is the violation of good clinical practice. August 12, 2004. At that time there was no GCP. And these are the violation of good clinical practice. Then Willowbrook State School. This is the Willowbrook State School. And this is the picture of some atrocities. Then coming to evolution of ethical principles. Then after the atrocities, there came the rules, that is Nuremberg Code in 1949, Declaration of Helsinki in 1964, the Belmont Report 1979, Council for International Organizations of Medical Sciences, CIOMS 1993. Then what is Belmont Report? Belmont Report in 1979, that tells us that respect for persons, autonomy of individuals, special protection for those with diminished autonomy. Then beneficence, maximize the possible benefits, minimize possible harm to the patient. Justice, subjects should be selected fairly to ensure that the benefits and burdens of medical research are evenly distributed. Then this is the White House Office of the Press Secretary released that remarks by the President in apology for study done in Tuskegee. What was done cannot be undone, but we can end the silence. We can stop turning out our heads away. We can look at you in the eye and finally say, on behalf of the American people, what the United States government did was shameful and I am sorry. This is in May 16, 1997. Then coming to the cardinal principles, autonomy means that each person should be given the respect, time, and opportunity necessary to make his or her own decisions. Then beneficence obligates the researcher to secure the well-being of all study participants. Belmont Report 1979 maximize possible benefits and minimize possible harms. Then justice. Justice is a difficult and complex ethical issue. Attempts should be made to distribute the risks and benefits fairly and without bias. Who should bear the risk of a study and who should receive its benefits? Participants should not be selected due to class, socioeconomic status, or race unless justified by study objectives. Then in 1990s, the decade of harmonization. Then come the ICH, International Council of Harmonization, International Conference on Harmonization of Technical Requirements for Registration of Pharmaceuticals for Human Use. Primary participants are USA, European Union, Japan, regulatory and industry representatives. Observers, Canada, Australia, Nordic countries, WHO as facilitator. Then coming to GCP purpose. The purpose is quality data plus ethics is equal to GCP, means quality data plus ethics. Data and reported results are credible and accurate, that is equal to quality data. Rights, integrity and confidentiality of trial subjects are protected, that is called the ethics. So ICH topics: Q for quality, S for safety, E for efficacy, M for multidisciplinary. So ICH GCP E6 glossary, principles, ethics committees, investigators, sponsors, protocol, investigators, brochure, essential documents, all are given in this ICH GCP E6 guideline. Then coming to the 13 principles of GCP, good clinical practice, that is ethical conduct. 1 is ethical conduct. 2 risk benefit assessment. 3 subjects over science and society. 4 adequacy of pre-existing information. 5 scientific validity. 6 independent review. 7 medically qualified care. 8 trained and experienced personnel. 9 informed consent. 10 efficiency of information handling. 11 confidentiality. 12 drug accountability. 13 quality through systems and procedures. Then the GCP principle 1, ethical conduct. Clinical trials to be conducted in accordance with the ethical principles that have their origin in the Declaration of Helsinki and that are consistent with GCP good clinical practice and the applicable regulatory requirements. The GCP principle 2, risk benefit assessment. Before initiating a trial, weigh foreseeable risks and inconveniences against the anticipated benefit for the individual trial subject and society. Initiate and continue only if the anticipated benefits justify the risks. Then the GCP principle 3, subject over science and society. The rights, safety and well-being of the trial subjects are the most important considerations and should prevail over interests of science and society. Then the GCP principle 4, adequacy of pre-existing information. The available non-clinical and clinical information on an investigational product should be adequate to support the proposed clinical trial. Then GCP principle 5, scientific validity. Clinical trials should be scientifically sound and described in a clear, detailed protocol. Then GCP principle 6, independent review. A trial should be conducted in compliance with the protocol that has received prior institutional review board IRB / independent ethics committee IEC approval / favorable opinion. Then GCP Principle 7, medically qualified care. The medical care given to and medical decisions made on behalf of subjects should always be the responsibility of a qualified physician or, when appropriate, of a qualified dentist. Then GCP Principle 8, trained and experienced personnel. Each individual involved in conducting a trial should be qualified by education, training, and experience to perform his or her respective tasks. Then GCP Principle 9, informed consent. Freely given informed consent should be obtained from every subject prior to clinical trial participation. Then GCP Principle 10, efficiency of information handling. All clinical trial information should be recorded, handled, and stored in a way that allows its accurate reporting, interpretation, and verification. This principle applies to all records referenced in this guideline, irrespective of the type of media used. Then GCP Principle 11, confidentiality. The confidentiality of records that could identify subjects should be protected, respecting the privacy and confidentiality rules in accordance with the applicable regulatory requirements. Then GCP Principle 12, drug accountability. Investigational products should be manufactured, handled, and stored in accordance with applicable good manufacturing practice (GMP). They should be used in accordance with the approved protocol. Then GCP Principle 13, quality through systems and procedures. Systems with procedures that assure the quality of every aspect of the trial should be implemented. Aspects of the trial that are essential to ensure human subject protection and reliability of trial results should be the focus of such systems. That is quality. Then coming to a case, Mr. CG, 58-year, participate in an oncology city clinical trial, recruited by treating oncologist, traditional treatment, intermittently successful, randomized single-blinded placebo-controlled trial, 1 year. After 6 months, not experiencing any signs of improvement, getting worse. Preliminary data suggests that the drug is beneficial. How to deal? During an examination, Mr. CGA asks doc whether I am in the treatment arm or the placebo arm. He requested doc that if he is in the placebo arm, switching him to the treatment arm. He wanted to receive the possible benefits of the new treatment. Inherent moral problem in clinical research. Why do clinical research? For generating useful knowledge about health and disease. Therefore, benefit to research participants is not the primary purpose of research. Research participants are the means to developing useful knowledge, are thus at risk of exploitation. Enrollment in RCTs, randomized controlled trials, ethical dilemma, the two had conflict. Consider first the initial formulation of a trial. A new agent that promises more effectiveness is the subject of study. The control group must be given either an unsatisfactory treatment or a placebo. Even though the therapeutic value of the new agent is unproved, if physicians think it has promise, are they acting in the best interest of their patients in allowing them to be randomly assigned to the control group? That is written by Hellman and Hellman, 1991. Then enrollment in RCTs, randomized controlled trials, ethical dilemma, uncertainty principle, and clinical equipoise. Randomization is acceptable only when an individual doctor, the investigator, is genuinely unsure which treatment IMP, investigational manufacturing product, is better best for a trial participant patient. Clinical equipoise refers to the collective professional uncertainty over treatment. Consider the soundest ethical criterion, statistical equipoise. Then participation in randomized controlled trial, ethical dilemma, therapeutic misconception. There is a term called therapeutic misconception. What goes awry is that the ill subject does not grasp that what she has volunteered for really is research. It can be enormously hard to shake the erroneous belief that the intervention is designed to make the volunteer better rather than contribute to anything as faceless as the medical welfare of future patients. That is written by James Lindemann Nelson. Then coming to GCP principles summary. Ethics, ethical conduct of clinical trials. The benefits of the trials justify the risks. The rights and safety and well-being of the subjects prevail. Protocol and science. There is non-clinical and clinical information that support the trial. The clinical trial should be scientifically sound with a clear, detailed protocol. Then responsibility. There should be IRB institutional review board oblique institutional ethics committee approval prior to initiation of study. Medical care and decision should be performed by qualified physician or dentist. Each individual involved in the trial is qualified. Education, training and experience to perform trial tasks. Informed consent. Informed consent should be obtained from every subject prior to participation. Data quality and integrity, accurate reporting, interpretation and verification, protection of confidentiality of records should be there. Investigational products, IPs investigational products should be manufactured, handled and stored in accordance with good manufacturing practice, GMP. Quality control quality assurance, there should be systems in place to ensure the quality every aspect of the trial. Then case 1, you have noticed that in the rural part of your state that there seems to be an excessive amount of Crohn's disease among Adivasi farm workers. You suspect that an exposure to the Mycobacteriosaurus, which is found in the crops in your state, is responsible for this outbreak of Crohn's disease. You develop an antibiotic regimen that is highly effective for Mycobacterium saurus and now want to conduct a placebo controlled trial to treat these patients. You develop an informed consent in local language that has been approved by the IRB Institutional Review Board. You hire an interpreter to help you with the informed consent. Enrollment starts and you are amazed that everyone asked to enroll is agreeable. There is 100% enrollment. There is an interim analysis done at 6 months into the trial and the results are not what was expected. While walking through one of the farm workers' housing units, you noted a box with 100 vials of your carefully labeled study medication. None of the seals have been broken on the vials. You find that the study subjects all signed on to the study because they thought their job was in jeopardy if they did not participate. The interpreter did not explain what the trial was about, and to your dismay, the subjects did not read the informed consent due to literacy issues. What was good? There appeared to be sound scientific reasoning for the trial. Institutional Review Board IRB approval was obtained prior to initiation. Informed consent was translated into Spanish and there was an interpreter. What went wrong? How did this case deviate from GCP? Informed consent was not informed. Vulnerable population potential for coercion. Translator not qualified to perform his oblique her tasks. Case study 2. XYZ Pharma has developed a promising new growth factor enema preparation for the treatment of ulcerative colitis. They embark on a clinical trial comparing the growth factor to be a placebo enema preparation. The physician in charge of the trial at ABC University noted that when the enemas were mixed, one set of study medication was slightly tinted. The physician thought that the tinted enemas were most likely the active medication. As patients were randomized into the study, he worked with pharmacists to make sure that the tinted enemas went to the patients with the highest disease activity index, thinking that they needed the active medication more than the patients who had less active disease. ABC University enrolled the largest number of patients into this clinical trial from among the study sites. The overall study results showed that the enema therapy was ineffective. At ABC University, there was a 20% response to active therapy and a 30% response to placebo. At the other sites combined, there was a 70% response to active drug and a 30% response to placebo. What happened? Questions. What happened in this case? How does it deviate from GCP? Good clinical practice. How can randomization blind be ensured in a study to comply with GCP? Good clinical practice. How can study sites ensure that this type of event will not occur? Is there a problem in trial design? Discussion. Ethics. Physician was concerned about patients, but if there was a worry about the severity of disease in a group of patients, the benefits of the trial may not justify the risks. Protocol and science. Non-compliant with protocol, however, there are design flaws that allowed this to happen. Treating physicians should be blinded to investigational product. Randomization should be independent and fixed. Bias was introduced into the trial. Then case 3. A gastroenterologist had been asked to participate in a trial of a new monoclonal antibody treatment for ulcerative colitis. One of the endpoints of the trial is mucosal healing. A sigmoidoscopy is performed at screening, and then after 12 weeks of study medication, if there is improvement, the patient continues in the trial. The patient has returned for the 12-week sigmoidoscopy and the recording equipment fails. Gastro did the sigmoidoscopy and think things were better, and the patient was begging to stay in the trial. Gastro scored the endoscopic findings being slightly better, so that the patient had a chance to stay in the trial and took pictures. Due to the technology failure, Gastro did not have video documentation of the sigmoidoscopy but had pictures. So question: should the patient remain in the trial? What are your responsibility to GCP good clinical practice in this trial? What is the sponsor's responsibility? What is the responsibility of the CRO, contract research organization? Coming to discussion. Data quality and integrity. In this case, the failure of the equipment is leading to problems with reporting and interpretation and verification of results. You want there to be an improvement so the patient can remain in the trial, placing bias into the decision if you make that decision. Quality of control of quality assurance. Critical technology for should be have consistent quality checks to try to prevent failure. There must be systems in place to deal with technology failure. This is the responsibility of the sponsor CRO, contract research organization. So, do unto others what you would like others to do unto you. That is written in the Bengali, and the English meaning is do unto others what you would like others to do unto you. So that's all. Thank you very much. Jai Jagannath.